the two names that are on the lips of most people who are attending the World Economic Forum are, number one, Donald Trump. Every single person, actually, I found one guy wearing a MAGA hat, and he was just sort of a rogue guy. He wasn't an official delegate. I interviewed him because I thought, who's wearing a MAGA hat in the Swiss Alps? But other than him, this place hates Donald Trump, and they think they can do something about it.
Likelihood of a Trump presidency and sort of trying to prepare for that already?
Everyone's talking about it. I mean, there's a lot of ice out there. Right under the ice, just under the ice, is sheer panic on the part of certainly every European leader. You may have seen Christine Lagarde, the head of the ECB, who came out publicly saying that she thought that Trump was a serious risk for Europe, for trade relations, for America's role in the world. She's the only one that said that publicly. Every European leader I'm speaking to privately is concerned. I just had a meeting with a very senior Japanese delegation this morning. That was issue number 1, 2, and 3. And they say, back in Tokyo right now, every CEO, that is what they're worried about.
Are you concerned that Trump might be elected again?
I think it's very likely. And if it happens, it is likely to be the kind of like the death blow to what remains of the global order. And he says it openly. Now, again, it should be clear that many of these politicians, they present a false dichotomy, a false binary vision of the world, as if you have to choose between patriotism and globalism, between being loyal to your nation and being loyal to some kind of, global government or whatever.
It's been well written about. He had over 30,000 false or misleading claims in his 4 years as a president. If that comes from the top, is that part of the issue and the problem as well, Naomi?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's one of the reasons this issue has become so vexed in the United States, because now ordinary people are getting a lot of disinformation in social media, much of which is coming from private sector interests, but then it gets amplified when it gets reposted and resent by ordinary people who think, oh, this is interesting, I'll pass this on. But then it's also being amplified at the top. And this is one reason why I'm glad we're here talking about this at the World Economic Forum, because I think the business community has a big role to play in challenging this. Because one of the things we've seen in the United States is we have a small sector of what I'll call bad actor private sector agents, and we know who they are, who are responsible for the vast majority of disinformation. And the rest of the private sector is just sitting on the sidelines. And they're just not saying anything, and they're biting their tongue because, well, maybe they liked President Trump for other reasons because he cut corporate taxes. And so I think the private sector has largely stood by and allowed a lot of really damaging things to happen, things that in the long run will not be good for, liberal democratic capitalism. And so I really hope that the World Economic Forum will take this issue on board and think harder about the role that the private sector can play in standing up against disinformation.
So yesterday I stood on this stage and said some things that I should not have said. But we all deserve a second chance. So I would like to apologize to absolutely no one. None of you were elected to show us how we should live our lives. All of you motherfuckers took your private jets to show up to this meeting, so don't lecture us about the environment. I ain't eating bugs, you can eat these nuts, and once again, you and your fake climate agenda can go fuck